Welcome to Roll to Hit Gaming's Impressions. In this video, we conclude our game showcase. We've gone into the box, through the rules, and out onto the table. The time has come to tell you what we thought of the game. Thank you for joining us. Let's head into the game room for your Roll to Hit Gaming Impressions host.
Welcome back. I'm Lucas from Roll to Hit Gaming, and today I'll give you my impressions of Florenza 2nd Edition. In Florenza, players are patrons of the arts trying to bring prestige to their family by commissioning the best artists to complete the finest works of art in the city of Florenza. Straight away, this theme is fantastic. As you play, managing your resources and sending your workers to get money and use your workshops to produce the things you need to complete your art, you really feel like you're commissioning a work of art and actively working towards making it happen. This is never more apparent than when you hire an artist. They're always typically local artisans who will get the job done, but the quality of their work leaves a lot to be desired. The cool part about hiring artists is what the game calls the Life in Florenza tracker. This mechanic seeds artists onto the tracker at a certain space, and each turn the artists all shift left, meaning their time in Florenza is limited. So if you really want Leonardo to complete that specific piece of art, you've better act fast before he leaves town for good. These artists are all historically known persons, and the back of the rulebook contains a blurb of history about them, which is a really neat touch. Once you pay for the artist and his supplies, you'll roll a die, and that artist will add bonus prestige points based on the quality of the work. The more famously acclaimed the artist, the more points you get, so as you can imagine, having Michelangelo complete a work of art will get you a chunk of bonus victory points. I really liked using the die roll to determine the quality of art because it felt like it added some nice excitement each turn and seeing what results you got. If you dislike the dice in your Euro games, this one's ready to make you happy with variant rules that replace the die with a system where you can spend more money to improve the quality of your ingredients, thus improving your artwork. There's a lot going on in this one, so let's talk about a few of the moving parts. As you complete art, you'll usually gain victory points, but you could also gain church influence. These two separate trackers are used to determine which player takes on a special role in a given turn. Each turn, the player leading the way on prestige points becomes captain of the people. This lets you go first in the next round and also gives you one of two special powers. You can detain an artist, basically reserving it for your own use, or you can detain an opponent's worker, giving them one fewer for the next turn. A player who has enough church influence might become the bishop, and this entitles you to go second, and in the following round gives you a special power. You can detain a priest, basically making them unusable in the next turn, or you can convert an opponent's worker. I feel like this is actually a little more powerful than the captain's detain ability, because not only does an opposing player lose a worker, the bishop player also gains a worker. Other than standard worker placement interactions, this is where direct confrontation comes into play. I feel like these mechanics work really well and create additional ways in which players compete. There are mechanics built in that prevent a player from retaining these roles for more than a turn or two, so while these roles grant powerful benefits, there's a balance to them and players can all take advantage of them if they make the right choices. At its core, this is a worker placement game. There are a pile of workshops, which are where you'll send your workers to get resources or money. Players begin with 2 that they choose, and you'll build more as you move along. There are a limited number of each type, so naturally, as you play again and again, the workshops you have will be different. This is really interesting because you're competing to customize your array of workshops in the most efficient manner possible. However, players can use each other's workshops by paying the controller a prestige point. In 2-player games, this happens, but not as often. The more players you add, the more this will become necessary, and I really liked the tightness this added to the game. You may not always be able to get your first choice, and sometimes you have to modify your plans on the go. You really have to keep up with what your opponents are doing to keep yourself making informed decisions, and since workers are placed on the board at the same time in player order, it's not long until you need to act again, and this keeps you engaged, which is certainly a good thing. How effectively you can manage your workers and your resources will directly correlate to how well you do in Florenza. There's very little luck, and almost none, if you use the no dice variant I mentioned. That makes Florenza a straight strategy game, and your choices are the thing that matter most, and I think that's how any good Euro should be. An interesting piece of this game lies in the process by which you commission and complete the art itself. In the worker placement step, when you decide to commission art, you don't have to have the required resources. As the phases resolve, you'll have the opportunity to gain resources by operating your workshops and sending your workers to work to gain money or to the market to buy, sell, and trade resources. This all comes together in the artwork phase, where you'll spend the resources you gained, usually that turn, on completing your art. If you get to that point and you don't have the required resources, you'll suffer a prestige loss. This ties back into the theme because your reputation is your family's prestige, so if you can't follow through on your promises, you suffer the penalty. This seems like it would be easy to avoid, and it is, but late in the game, when you're trying to squeeze out just a few more victory points, you have to carefully manage everything, or you'll find yourself overcommitting, which is a terrible moment for you, and a moment your opponents will love. By now, I'm sure you know that components are a big part of my game experience. I love to see visually appealing art as I play, and am a very tactile person. The cardboard pieces in this one are nice and thick, which is great. The art matches the theme, and the game board itself, while fairly simple, is elegantly laid out, and as the game unfolds, the different family crests occupy completed artwork space, making the board look really great. The artist cards are essentially portraits of the various artists, which look fantastic. The worker discs and resource cubes are standard wooden pieces, but they hold up well and serve their purpose well. The big drawback from a component's perspective are the prestige certificates. These are used to track prestige you have earned when you gain the Captain of the People role. As I said earlier, the game tries to balance out this role to make sure someone doesn't keep it turn after turn, so when you become captain, your prestige marker is set to 0 and you gain certificates equal to your current space on the prestige tracker. While this adds a neat hidden scoring that you have to try to keep up with as you go to see where players really stand, these certificates are simply printed paper, and unless they're handled extremely carefully, they start to look like your old Monopoly money fairly quickly. I understand that they serve their purpose, but I would have preferred some chits that match the nice cardboard stock used elsewhere in the game to these paper certificates. Florenza usually checks in a little more than 2 hours. Your learning games could be a little longer, and unfortunately, like most mid-weight Euros, analysis paralysis can become a problem, lengthening your game. If you don't like longer, heavier Euro games, I'm not sure that this one's going to change your mind. But if you do, then you should really check this title out. It's a nice, thinky game that's flown under the radar for some reason. I suppose the muted, almost monochromatic look of the game box may make it prone to being overlooked on a shelf, but don't. This one has earned a spot on my shelf and is moving up my top games list, so for that reason, I'm going to give Florenza 2nd edition a die rating of D10. It's a great game with sound, fun mechanics, well worth the time invested. You'll want to come back to play more and more, and I definitely recommend this title. If you've played Florenza, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Lucas, and as always, have a great one.
Thank you for joining Roll to Hit Gaming to see and hear our impressions of this game. Details of our dice rating system can be seen on your screen now. If you liked what you saw and want to see more, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Find us on Facebook and Twitter. Join in the conversation in the comments below. We'll see you next time, and as always, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good.